Hello, everyone. I am Allison Davis-White Eyes with the Office of Institutional Diversity, and I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing two amazing colleagues as part of our campus community. Thank you both so much for joining us here today and celebrating the many successes Oregon State University has enjoyed over the academic year. Part of this success is the work that you all have accomplished in advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion through OSU. We would like to take some time with you to share a little bit about your successes, but before we do, I'd really like for you each to introduce yourselves and the roles that you have here at Oregon State University. And I think I'm going to start with Bridget Jones.
Yes. Hello, I'm Bridget Jones. I serve as the secretary for the President's Commission on the Status of Black Faculty and Staff Affairs. And here at Oregon State, I am the Senior Associate Director of Transfer Admissions with the Office of Admissions.
Thank you, Bridget. And Terrance?
Good morning. I'm Terrance Harris. I'm one of the co-chairs for the President's Commission on the Status of Black Faculty and Staff Affairs. And on campus, I direct the Lonnie B. Harris Black Cultural Center.
Oh, thank you both for being here today and taking time. So, this commission is fairly new. We'd really like to hear, what was the impetus behind creating this commission?
So really it sparked in the summer of 2020. So as you know, we had the killings of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and Black faculty and staff. It was just continuing to see that trauma play out in the media, not just those 3 murders that happened last year, but the other senseless murders that happened during the year and before that. And just for us, we felt like it was time to make some moves. It was time for the university to back and support Blacks here at this campus. We do a lot of work. It's not many of us. And we felt like we needed to make a stance and say that. So it was a few colleagues of ours, Black faculty, Black identified folks, that came up with the structure for the commission. And we submitted it to the president at the time, President Alexander. And from that, we formulated, the chairs were appointed, and then the rest of the committee was appointed by the president. But it was really to anchor the successes of Black folks, to call out support to Black identified folks at this campus. There's structural issues in terms of people being hired or not having adequate pay or sustaining Black folks at this institution that has historically been not supportive of Black folks, or really any people of color for that matter, in ways that it could have been better. So this was an opportunity for us to change the scope of that. And in the 150 years existence of this institution, there has never been a President's Commission on the Status of Black Faculty and Staff Affairs until now. So that was the impact for us, and also to support Black identified students too, who we all collectively are in this struggle together and have to support each other and create the community that exists here when we're not by far many at all.
Well, thank you so much, Terrance, for sharing that interesting context and history. What would you all say are the biggest accomplishments you have had with the Black Faculty and Staff Commission?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. I think honestly, the biggest accomplishment is that we found each other. And so, particularly given that, most of us are working remotely and in kind of all over in various places. I remember, in the couple of meetings that we've had thus far, just to be able to see who exists on campus, who is Black identified is huge. To know who their names are, to be able to kind of get us all on the same email list. I think, after after we had our first meeting of the commission, I got several email messages of people just saying, thank you. Like, I had no idea of, that there were this many other Black folks. And again, there aren't a ton of us, but that there were this many other Black folks on campus. Like, I'm so thankful to have this space for us to be able to talk about Black issues and to, address some of the things that have been problematic for faculty and staff on campus. So I think that, like, without even being a commission for a full year yet, has been a huge accomplishment. And I think a kind of a sigh of relief for several folks who have felt so isolated on campus for so long, or in various campuses throughout the state, really, without knowing who else was there to support them, or, that they could have community with. So I think that's definitely a big accomplishment for us thus far. Terrance, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
No, thanks, Bridget. I agree. I think, like I was saying earlier, the point of having a commission, right? If you look at the existence of this institution, every 50 years, you've seen something. You've seen the first Black student come in 100 years ago, in 1919, 1920, to the 1970s, where you had the creation of you had the walkout, and then you had the creation of cultural centers, and the Black Cultural Center founded. And now here we are in 2021, and we have a commission. I think that's one accomplishment. We're still in the process of making a list of accomplishments today. I mean, we only been in existence for like 2 months or so. So we haven't really, we have a lot of things that we're working towards. So a lot of that includes like onboarding processes for Black identified employees coming to this institution, how we can support them, creating lists and resources to help them, creating ways to create mixers or things where we can connect so they can be connected and feel appreciated. When you come here and you're not from the Pacific Northwest like me or Bridget or even Allison, it's a challenge to adjust to such an environment, and we have to create those mechanisms to help support our Black faculty and staff, and even our students that do come here. I think the other things that we're working towards too is creating our Black excellence, is staging that up, with also working with faculty and staff and getting the reasons why they want to stay here. Why would you want to be? Where would you want to work for Oregon State? So there's a lot more things that we're working towards that will be accomplished by the end of this year. And we can come back and celebrate all of those victories, but we still doing the work. So we just mainly, the point of us having this and to celebrate each other and to be in community is a start, and something that we will anchor on, but not just live but we'll live in the moment for right now. But we're not going to just sit there and gloat in that. We got a whole lot of stuff that we want to get done, and we will do.
Yeah, we definitely identified our priorities, and that I think a really good thing for our group to say. It's like, yep, we want to address, like Terrance was saying, like hiring practices, like who are we pulling from so that we can get more Black faculty, and like how do we do mentorship for faculty and staff? Like how are we addressing policy issues, getting our Black graduate students involved? Like what are the events that we should be doing in the community? Like those things have been identified, and people are excited about it too. And I think that's also a huge accomplishment, that people want to help us, like to support the community to do this work.
You're absolutely right, Bridget. I think people are excited, and it's so wonderful to hear Terrance talk about that long history of Black activism at Oregon State University, culminating in 2021 with this particular President's Commission. Very exciting work. Perhaps you all can share some of the challenges that you had in developing the commission.
Well, I think one of the challenges that we have, and I think we will continue to have, is like, this isn't our full-time job. Everyone there's so much work that needs to be done, and there aren't a lot of us to do it. And it's kind of, work on top of our full-time jobs. And honestly, there's I think some emotional labor involved too. And so, making sure we are keeping ourselves strong and healthy, like physically, mentally, emotionally, to be able to do the work that needs to be done is just quite frankly a very real challenge, I think, for several.
I agree. That is definitely a challenge because that's the main thing that we're focused. You know, we have to balance. You have full time, you have this, and this is, and they're both essential. And then on top of that, you continue to have to relive images of people still being murdered on TV, on the cameras, or having some unjust happenings that occur within different systems without this country. And it only justifies the work of why we have the commission and why it's essential to this institution and to the people, the 90 of us that work here. So it's a challenge to do that, and also having to work with or through, you know, different constituents or whatnot to try to create barriers to keep you from being successful, maybe because of folks' lenses to not understand the complexities of what it is to be African American or Black working at a predominantly white institution in a predominantly white state in a predominantly white region. And you're not the one, you don't have to think about those other outliers because you had the opportunity, you had the privilege to sit there and dwell in it. And we have to relive these things every day and continue to talk to students about these things as we're living it. So it is a living truth. But it's one, as we say all the time, because we're a group of people, a nation of people that are resilient. We will persevere and push through. But it is a challenge though. And also just recruiting and keeping people here and wanting to, you know, it's a good thing, but it's also like, do I really I'm giving up myself to come to be in this space. And I don't know if people really have that true context of that challenge, because that's just a challenge that is really, it's a truth. To be honest, you can't deny it.
Yeah, working within it's like the work that we're trying to do will require a cultural shift for the university. And some people honestly might be willing to engage in that. Some people aren't ready for that. And so for us being able to navigate like through the different offices based on whatever our initiatives are, like how do we get people to see that a cultural shift needs to happen in order to advance this work, and getting people to buy in to that. A lot of people say they want to do it, but then when kind of those uncomfortable moments happen, they realize, oh, maybe this isn't actually what I thought I wanted. And so navigating that when you don't have like a critical mass of the population here is very difficult, and that's going to be an ongoing challenge.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you both. And maybe kind of picking up on a thread that Terrance shared about resilience, right? So maybe we can take that resilience and sort of reframe challenges to opportunities. So how did you overcome those challenges? How did you exercise your resilience and agency in overcoming those challenges?
I think for me, you know, I've been here 5 years. I didn't think I would be at Oregon State 5 years, if we just candid and honest. But I've been here 5 years, and I've been able to create a network of people. I've been able to, you know, collaborate with different groups. I'll be a part of, as you know, Partners in Diversity in Portland is a great collaborator, and getting a part of Say Hey. And it really opened me up to not outside of the Willamette Valley, but also up in Portland, Vancouver, all across the I-5 corridor, I would like to describe it. And that's just the opportunity to reach out to different other Black identified folks and other folks of color that who you really wouldn't necessarily get to at OSU, right? Because they're not all down in Corvallis. And I think it opened up into opportunities to reach out and collaborate with different corporations, bringing in different speakers, creating community, being able to explore venues and spaces that do happen, and it would be like, okay, maybe I can work this out a little bit, you know, and I see that as an opportunity because that's it. All we need is just a little bit of something and you can make it happen. And I think that is a resilience piece for me because, you know, if I'm able to share my story and my experiences, that might inspire somebody else. And that's an opportunity for a person who is ready to maybe leave a space that just isn't conducive to their full potential. And this is an opportunity to grow and come here and to also work with a group of people who is dedicated to making sure that all of us have some fruit from this vine that we can give to others. And I think it's just that is the piece that is a driving force, you know, and it's an opportunity because I think we have an opportunity to make this blossom, and I've seen it happen in other spaces, and I think it can happen here too. And as Bridget was saying, it's the cultural shift. So people begin to notice those shifts. I think they'll be able to start the shift.
Yeah, and something that I would add is completely agreeing with Terrance, and even just the ability to reach outside of, you know, kind of the microcosm that we're living in, that is OSU, and see how other people are doing it. So connecting with those professional networks to get energized, to get ideas on how to navigate some of these things that, you know, some of us may not have navigated in this way, in this time before. But also kind of within the OSU community, something I find that's helpful in navigating some of these challenges is really being able to identify who our on-campus allies are, like the people who have like able to sort of elevate our issues and concerns in ways that lead to real change, whether they are Black identified or not. So like who are the folks that can help us advance these initiatives so that they do get done, that they get done well, and that they are recognized. That's been, I think, it is and will continue to be crucial and critical in overcoming just any sort of roadblocks that we may continue to hit along the way. And that's why we need, you know, the OSU community to recognize who we are, to recognize the work that we're doing and why we're doing it. So that it's not just another group like saying, hey, what about me? What about me? Like, our people are being murdered. Like, this is a problem. And so to see that is not just a, this isn't just a, oh, woe is me, you know, give us attention moment. This is something that, you know, addressing this, the issues within kind of the Black community here at OSU, opens the door to address issues that are happening in other communities of color as well, and ultimately is something that will elevate the entire OSU community, because we are, you know, diversity exists here, even if it isn't necessarily in mass. But it's like when one of us suffers, we all suffer. And so at how the Black community is suffering right now, how we can change that will give us a baseline for how we can address these sorts of issues with various other communities as well. Because it is such a kind of dark, deep-seated kind of like history in the US, kind of that tension between Black and non-Black, like that it needs to be addressed.
So moving into the future, and I say that because there's a lot of talk about Afrofuturism. So let's put on our futuristic goggles and vision glasses and think about what's next for the President's Commission on Black Faculty Affairs.
Well, that's a loaded one.
Yes, it is.
I mean, but I would think like a great onboarding process. I think having various types of, if it's fundraisers or if it's different ways that we celebrate our Black faculty and staff here, ways that we can retain our Black faculty and staff, and also provide more opportunities for employment. So, you know, if that's more teaching faculty here, creation, I would love to see an Africana Studies department or something within ethnic studies that is studied on Black. Like, we have only a you can name on one hand, really 3 fingers, how many people teach Black literacy, Black studies at this institution. And really just, and I will say pay equities, that we have adequate pay from every position. Black identified folks are not paid like they should be. It doesn't matter the position. We're underpaid and under appreciated. And we want to see that change. And it's going to be a push, more than a push, but I'm just being polite to, you know, how to see things change within this institution to support those who come after us. We're just laying the foundation.
Yeah, yeah, and we have within, you know, each of the committees within the commission, so like membership, community events, nominations, you know, faculty, staff affairs, we have those listed priorities. As we mentioned earlier, folks have their priorities, the projects that we will be working on, and we've already started mobilizing on. So, you know, we're kind of taking this time and through the summer to really solidify what our plans are, so that, you know, come fall term, we'll really be able to get out there and start. I mean, we're already starting to make moves on these things, to address some of the issues and kind of dig deeper into learning what the issues truly are and how far they reach. But I think come fall, we'll really start to see, you know, some feet to these plans and things being enacted and events being planned, and us really moving forward on what we see as the big things that we're facing right now.
And I would be remiss if I didn't say, we have an extraordinary e-board. Bridget is like our nucleus. She keeps us all together and on par. So if we don't have a supporting cast, you know, none of this would work. So I'm really just grateful for the body of people that we have. Even our committee members and committee chairs.
Yes.
So you, Allison, everyone that does this part, it takes a village. And we really have to do that. And even we have been triple tasked sometimes and just doing things, but it's just the passion and just for the culture, you know, so.
Well, thank you both. I definitely agree, Terrance. It takes a village. And it looks like this village is off and running. And we are looking forward to fall quarter when you all start reconvening and moving forward on your strategic plans to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion on behalf of the Black community here on campus. So thank you so much for this good work. Wishing you all well. And thank you for joining us for the State of Diversity Address. Thank you, Bridget and Terrance. Bye-bye.
Yeah,